So we get one last pair of definitions in this chapter. So there are different types of quantitative variables called discrete or continuous. The difference is in how many values in the data can have. If you can actually count the number of data values that are possible, even if you're counting off to infinity, then the variable is called discrete. If it's not possible to count the number of data values that are possible, then the variable is called continuous. So continuous means between any two values, another value is possible. So for example, if we were counting how many children a family has, that number would have to be like 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. And if I take two values like 0 and 1, there's no values in between those that are possible. So a family can't have 0.26 kids or half a kid. But now if instead we're looking at how much each child weighs, then we might record a child's weight as 32 pounds and somebody else's 33 pounds. But in between those two values, there are other values that are possible. Somebody can be 32.5 pounds or 32.16 pounds. Okay, so weight would be on a continuous scale. But counting number of kids somebody has would be something that would be discrete. So discrete data, these are data that can only take on particular values. Like integers in an interval. And for most things in this course, there'll be whole numbers, like the example I just gave with counting children. So discrete data are usually counting things. Continuous data are data that can take any value in a particular interval. So like the example I gave above with weight, where we could have 32 pounds and 33 pounds, but actually all the values in between 32 and 33 are possible weights as well. And so continuous data are usually things you measure. So most of the time, if you think about, even if you're not actually collecting the data, but if you were to think about actually being the data collector, if you need some sort of measuring device to collect the data, it's probably on a continuous scale. So if you need a ruler or a scale or a thermometer, things like heights and weights and temperatures, those are all on a continuous scale. So let's look at an example. So example 1.1.5, so discrete or continuous. So classify each quantitative variable as either discrete or continuous. So the first example they give us here in part A is the weight of a cat. So if we think about if we were to actually wanting to weigh a cat, we would need some sort of scale to do that. And again, values like an 8-pound cat or a 9-pound cat, but then again, all the values in between 8 and 9 are possible as well. Okay, so this is continuous. Since it is something we measure. But now taking that same cat, and if we were to count the number of fleas on the cat, okay, this would be discrete because it's something that we count. So this is discrete since it is something we count. Now, the last one here for part C that's given is a little weird. So this one is the size of a shoe. So if we think about if we go into a shoe store and want to buy shoes, they come in sizes like 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, which means if your foot is actually somewhere between a 7 and a 7.5, you get either a shoe that's a little too tight or a shoe that's a little too loose, because there's no values between 7 and 7.5. So this is also discrete. Since you can only have certain sizes, like 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, you can't buy, for example, a 9.73 size shoe. So it's not on a continuous scale. Now if we were to actually measure our foot in centimeters or inches, okay, that would be continuous because we'd be measuring something. But the size of a shoe, the shoe sizes that are sold, they only come in these certain increments. All right, so in this first section we had a lot of definitions. So the ones highlighted in pink throughout the chapter, there were 12 of those. But actually on the very first page we also had the pair of definitions, descriptive and inferential. So actually we could say there's like 14 new definitions in this section. So it's really important in section 1.1 to spend some time with those definitions. In Blackboard you will also find flashcards, Quizlet flashcards, to help you with those definitions as well.